Hi guys, my name's Shaun, I'm from Square One Physiotherapy in Mosman. This is my colleague Kaitlyn. Today we're going to take you through a full live body workout. All you're going to need is a couple of hand weights, okay? So if you don't have those, simply using a couple of water bottles will be fine. But for certain exercises through the routine, using the weights will be a progression of what we're currently doing. Really today what we're going to start off with working through is some mobility stroke movement prep, and we'll simply spend the first sort of 5 minutes working through those, and then we'll take you through a full routine which will include 9 exercises. We'll repeat those 3 times through, and we're going to break that down into 3 cycles as well. We've got some progressions of the different exercises, so feel free, if you're finding some of the exercises quite challenging, you can just simply regress and move back to one of the previous ones that we worked through, and then we're going to just finish off with a cool down as well, which is just involved in more restorative, improving mobility and improving muscle length and focusing on your breathing. So we're now going to start with our movement prep activation exercises. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go down into a 4-point kneeling position, so into a cat-camel position, and we're simply going to start by just taking ourselves through just 5 repetitions, 5 cat-camel movements. And the key thing is that when you're doing this is you're focused on lengthening through the spine. So for Kaitlyn there, it's extending through the back and trying to get the shoulders back while looking up as well, okay? And it's a really good exercise just to improve overall mobility through the spine itself. Yep. So when we've done our 5 reps, we're then going to take ourselves now into a plank position, so onto our hands and feet. Yeah, we're just going to hold that position there for 10 seconds, and we're then going to just work on then coming through, okay? So from there now, what we're going to do, I'll show you. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to hold that plank position in here, okay? We're going to keep ourselves here for about 10 seconds, not allowing the hips to drop down, okay? And from there, we're going to start taking ourselves with bringing right foot forwards, okay, keeping the left arm down on the ground. And by doing this, we're really opening out through the hip joints, so through the hips at the front, okay, and through the back hip flexor at the on the left-hand side. From here, we're going to then start to rotate and open up through the thoracic spine as well, and we're simply going to do that 3 times through. So coming back down, and then coming back up, coming through, and the last one coming back up, okay? So I'll show you from a side-on view this time. We're going to come back into our plank position, yeah, hold that position again for 10 seconds, and then we're going to now from that position bring that left foot forwards, okay, and now we're going to open up through the thoracic spine coming this way. So opening up the hips and rotating through 3 seconds, or 3 repetitions rather, coming up, coming back down, and Kaitlyn's going to get ready to join us again, okay? So from that position, guys, we're going to go back into the plank position, so I'll let Kaitlyn take over. Yeah. So from there now, we're going to go back into the plank, drop the knees down, okay? And then we're going to just drop back onto the hips a little bit more, okay? And from this position now, we're going to go with opposite arm and opposite leg, okay? So we're going to take the right arm forwards, thumb pointing to the ground, lengthen through the spine, and the right leg back as well. And we're going to do 6 repetitions alternating between sides, okay? So just working through, give yourself a 5-second hold, okay? Slow it down a little bit more and work through, okay? So good, so there and back down, okay? And we'll just keep working through that. Again, this is a great exercise to fire up the glutes, but also really focus on maintaining the stability through the spine as well. Hold it there for a few seconds, good, and back down, okay? And we'll just do a couple more reps each side. So this should start to prep the upper body. Really focus on making sure that the chest is flush against the scapula is flush against the chest wall as well. And we'll just do 1 more repetition of that. Great stuff, okay, so now we're going to go into our half kneeling position. So Kaitlyn's going to bring right foot forwards, okay, in a kneeling position now, extending through the upper back as well, so coming through, okay, dropping back into that position there. Now from here, what Kaitlyn's going to work on doing, and you guys at home, is raising that arm up, good, coming across the body, good, as she comes back down, good, and then coming to the side there. Just making sure that the hand is the other side of the thigh, and then returning to that starting position, okay? So we're going to do the same thing coming up, good, across the body, and then rotating. So again, it should be opening up the thoracic spine, but it's also going to be opening up the hips as well there. So you should feel a stretch through the hip flexors at the front when you're doing it, and then rotating through. The back foot has to be pressed down on the ground as well, because that will just activate the back glutes a lot more as well. Okay, this will be the last one, and then we're going to change sides as well. Okay, so now back to our 4-point kneeling. Bring the right foot forwards there, fantastic. Okay, come up into that half kneeling position, and then from there coming across, down, and then rotating across as well, and really opening up the thoracic spine, opening up the hips, holding it for a few seconds at the bottom as well, and then coming through. And we'll just keep going. We'll just do a couple more repetitions there, guys, just to, as I said, warm the body, prep the body for going into our main set as well. Okay, and this will be our last repetition, coming through and coming down. Okay, so we're now going to take that into, we're going to stand up, we're going to take it into a semi-squat position as well. So we'll go through this together. So first thing that we're going to do is in this squat, we're coming here, we're going to just open the legs, feet shoulder width apart. We're going to come down into a squat pattern, having the arms forwards. Then with the hands, we're going to come around, tuck around the back of the knees. So back of the knees there, Kaitlyn. That's it, great. We're going to keep the body where it is, and then just straighten the knees so we start to feel a stretch through the hamstrings. So you should feel some tightness through the back of the legs, and then come up into a standing position. So again, we're going to squat down, good. Come around the back of the knees, good. Coming, leaning forwards, okay. Extending the legs, coming up as well, okay. And again, so squatting down, good. Reaching around the back of the legs, extending the knees whilst looking forwards, and then coming up to that starting position. And we'll do 2 more repetitions, okay? So squatting down, wrapping the hands around the back of the legs, coming up, good, and then extending through. Last repetition. Great stuff, okay. So now what we're going to do, final stretch, final mobility exercise before we start to get the heart rate up, is we're going to now just go back into that squat position. We're then going to reach around the right knee, so stabilising on the left leg and coming up and holding that position and holding it there, tucking in 3, 2, 1 and back down. We'll stay on the same leg, okay, so down, good, coming round, extending up, stretching through the glutes on the right side, lengthening through the hip and then back down. Last one on this side, okay, so down, good, coming across, good, coming up. And as we said, we're challenging the stability on that right leg, okay? So with change sides, we'll do the same thing. So squatting down again, now grabbing through the left leg, good, extending up, holding it for 3 seconds, getting the glutes working on the right side, and then back down, okay? And what you'll find is as you extend up through on that standing leg, you actually activate the muscles at the front of the hip, so it warms up the entire sort of hip muscle complex as well. Last one through. Great stuff, okay, so now what we're going to do, last part of the warm-up, okay, so we're going to just start to just be on our toes, okay, raising the heels up, okay, so we're just doing some very sort of light jogging, but we're not lifting the legs up, okay. When I say go, we're going to do 5 seconds where we move the feet quicker, but keep the arms punching forwards as well, elbows straight, okay, so, well, sorry, working through the elbows, so we're going to go, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and back to normal, okay? So now we're going to just move it a bit quicker, okay? We're going to get those legs pumping a bit quicker. So, and let's go now. So 5 quick feet, okay, moving those feet. Should start to feel your heart rate going up. 3, 2, 1 and time, okay? So last one through. So back to the starting position, just keeping ourselves here. This is going to be the quickest one, guys, okay? And we're going to go in 3, 2, 1 and let's pump those feet, okay? Really quickly, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great stuff, well done. Okay, so feel free if you want to grab some water, by all means do so now. We're going to go into the main circuit, or the first 3 exercises, okay? So we will position ourselves in that position. Okay, so exercise number 1 is we're going to go into into a push-up. We're going to do a 10-second hold through 3 different positions. So Kaitlyn's going to start on her knees. Okay, she's going to flip the legs over so they're crossed slightly. Yeah, and she's going to start at the bottom and she's going to hold that position for 10 seconds. Okay, so Kaitlyn, if you demonstrate down at the bottom, so full range there. So we're going to hold that there for the count of 10. See, we're on our knees when we're doing it. Okay, so after that 10 seconds, we're then going to come up into a mid-range position. Good, so pushing up there, good. Hold it again for 10 seconds. And then we're going to come up to the top part of the range there as well and hold that there for 10 seconds as well. How are you feeling there, Kaitlyn?
Yeah, good.
Yeah? So key things are when you're doing it, keep the chest flush against the scapula as well. Okay, great stuff. Exercise number 2 now is we're going to go into a side plank. Yep, so we're on our elbow. Yep, we're going to start with the knee and the foot on the ground as we're doing it. So we're going to lift the hips up. And we're simply going to do 8 repetitions pushing that left arm forward. So that's it, pushing there, 8 repetitions, and then we're going to work on doing the same on the other side, okay? So once we do the 8, we then change rounds. Great stuff, Kaitlyn. Okay, and then the last exercise that we're going to do in this movement pattern is simply going to be a single leg squat, okay? So Kaitlyn's going to come up. The first round is going to be quite simple, okay? We're going to be using our hand weights for this one, yeah? And we're going to be holding them. We're going to have a toe touch down, so Kaitlyn's going to squat down on her left leg and touching the toe down on the right side. So the toe's just going to give us some stability as we're doing the movement pattern. Great stuff. Well done. Okay. So we're going to start off. So we're going to go back into the circuit now, Kaitlyn. So I'll grab the weights off you there. Okay. So we're going to start off with our push-up. Okay. So into our push-up position on our knees. Okay, and we're going to just count us through. So we're going to go down into full push-up position. We're going to hold that for 10 seconds. So when Kaitlyn's doing it, notice that she's not collapsing through her back. Okay, and she's just keeping herself there. We're going to come up into that mid-range position. Okay, this is working Kaitlyn quite hard already. So again, not allowing herself to collapse through the back. Okay, and then we're going to go up into our full push-up position. We're going to hold that there for 10 seconds, locking out the elbows as well, okay? So making sure that elbows are locked in and she's not collapsing through her low back as well as she's doing that there. So, great stuff. Now we're going to go into stability lift, okay? So I'll let Kaitlyn a side plank, so I'll let Kaitlyn work through this. Yep, so it's, again, 8 repetitions, lifting up through the hips, pushing out, good. Okay, and again, the key thing when you're doing this, guys, at home is just making sure that you're not really collapsing down through the side of the trunk there. You want to lift the hips up, okay, and make sure the back stays maintained there as well. Okay, and use that knee as just some support just to help you with that as well. So once we've done our 8 repetitions, we're going to change sides and do the same thing on the other side now as well there, okay? So coming up, good, and then just pushing through there. Yeah, so Kaitlyn's doing really, really well. She's engaging her core muscle. She's using the shoulder as well to give her that stability. And she's not collapsing down through her trunk as well as she's doing the movement pattern. Great stuff. So once we've done our 8 repetitions, now we're going to get up. We're going to do our single leg squat. We're going to use our small weights or a couple of water bottles at home. Okay, right foot is raised, so we're loading through the left leg this time. We're going to go down, good, and then come back up as well. Okay, so great thing about using the weights is that they get to counterbalance you, so you can use it as a bit of a reference point there as well. And we should just start to feel ourselves working through the quadriceps on the left leg and also engaging the glutes as well when we're doing it. Again, we're just working through 8 repetitions, go at your own pace. And again, making sure that we're not really collapsing through the low back at all when you're doing it. So at home, when you're doing this exercise, keep your back straight, work through the hips, okay, drive through the quads as well, okay? So you're simply using that left leg for Kaitlyn, in this instance, her left side, to give her that little bit of support and a bit more control. And this is really more of your entry-level single leg squat as well. But adding just a bit of external load by using the weights when we're doing it as well. Great stuff. Okay, so weights back down there. So we're now going into round 2. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit harder. So we're going to do push up again, so 10-second hold, but this time we're going to raise the legs up, okay, and we're going to go into a full push up when we're doing it. So we're going to go down into that first position. Okay, now if you're finding it too difficult, you can start in this position and put the legs down there. So Kaitlyn's done a great demonstration of that. Come up into that mid-range now, so we're going to hold that for 10 seconds. And again with Kaitlyn, she's transitioned back into the full push-up position. Okay, keeping the core engaged, and then you can come up into that full position. So you're working through the plank this time, okay? So again, don't collapse through the low back. Keep the shoulders engaged. I'll let Kaitlyn count her 10 seconds on this one. Good job, all right? So now we see Kaitlyn's done a bit of a workout yesterday because she's quite fatigued today. Now what we're going to do is we're going to work on now the full side plank, okay, with the stability press, okay? So Kaitlyn, if she goes with top leg in front of her as well, yeah, that will give her a little bit more stability coming up. Good, and then just pressing out with the arms there. Again, if you tire after a few repetitions, then just simply drop that bottom leg down as well. There's absolutely no issues with that. Try and get a few repetitions out in this position, but as you start to feel just the pelvis and the hips collapsing, then take yourself down, okay? And then we'll do the same on the other side. So top leg is in front, bottom leg is underneath. We're bringing ourselves up there, and then we're working on that press movement there as well, okay? Yeah, keeping the hips up, and then we can just simply add some weight to this movement as well as we're doing it. Great stuff. Okay guys, so what we're going to do now is we've just got a small sort of trigger ball that we're going to use. And Kaitlyn's going to place this now underneath her right foot. You could use your water bottle or something like that at home. It's just to create a bit more of an unstable base there. So it's a stage up from just having the toes on the ground, but it's still giving you some form of stability and control as you're doing it there. So it's not as demanding as a single leg squat. Again with Kaitlyn, she's got good knee range of motion as she goes down there. She's keeping her back straight. She's still using those weights to counteract her balance a bit more there as well. If she wanted to progress this, she could just go with a slight tempo hold as well as she's doing the movement pattern. Yep. And again, we're working through 8 repetitions, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side there as well. Is that okay?
We've got one more. Is that okay?
Yeah, good job. Well done. Okay guys, so we're now going to go into the final part of the push-up. Now, I'm going to show you the variations. Okay, this is just a step up that you can do. Again, depends on how you feel. So we're going to go into the full push-up position, and now what we're going to do is raise one leg up as well. So we're going to raise that leg up, come down, still hold it for our 10-second position at the bottom here, and then come through our mid-range position. Trying to keep those elbows relatively tucked in, and then come into our full push-up. If you're struggling with that, go back to the normal push-up. Again, if you're struggling with that still, then you can regress it to just being on the knees when you're doing the movement as well. Okay, so what one are you going to go with, Kaitlyn?
Oh, well, I'm going to go.
Okay, so Kaitlyn's going to just go with just one leg up first of all. She's going to go down into the push-up again, keeping the core engaged. Okay, so she's challenging her base to support much more now. Okay, I'll let her count herself in, so when she wants to come up, so she's gone onto the knees, she's going to the mid-range position now. Yep. There we go.
Sorry.
Okay, she's in the mid-range position now, she's doing 10 seconds. Okay, and now she's going into the top part of the range there as well, and we're just holding that for another 10 seconds, okay? So she's done really well there. She probably needs to work a little bit harder on her push-ups, but generally good effort. Okay, so now let's go back into our side plank, okay? So the variation is now, guys, that we're going to start using one of the hand weights as well, yeah? So, again, see how you feel. We're going to just do that's it, top leg in front there, keeping that position. We're now just putting a little bit more external load through the system by just having that hand weight. Again, if you find yourself tiring when you're doing this, just drop that right leg down as well, or left leg, depending on what side you're doing, just to give you that little bit more support as well, okay? So again, you're not overstretching with the arm, you're keeping the core muscles engaged and switched on, and you're working through your 8 repetitions, and then we're doing the same on the other side. You might find if you've had a previous injury before that one side is stronger than the other, and doing these type of programs is a great way of just highlighting those weaknesses and areas that you could potentially then start to target and work on a bit more. So Kaitlyn needs to lift herself up through the hips a little bit more there as she's fatiguing. Good job, just keep it going, keep the hips high, keep them raised up. Great stuff, okay? So now we're going to go on to our single leg squat again, but we're going to have the foot raised up, yeah? So we're going to work through 8 repetitions into a true single leg squat in this position. So we're going to drop down, use those hand weights to really counteract the balance as you're doing it there, yeah? And again, as I said, an easy way of just progressing this is just going with more of a tempo hold as well. So what that means is at the bottom, you can just hold it for 3 seconds before you then come back up and through the movement pattern as well. It's great stuff, Kaitlyn. So keep it going, guys. Okay, I know it's starting to feel it more through the quads, through the glutes. I imagine the quads are burning. But just keep working hard, a few repetitions to go. How many is that, Kaitlyn?
That's 8.
Good job, okay, so change sides. Again, so what you're going to feel after this circuit is really a decent sort of quadriceps, so thigh muscle burn as well as we start working through the different exercises, okay? Okay. Key thing is as well, just try not to prevent the knee from collapsing as well, so if you're weak through the hips or through the legs, the knee will have a tendency to drift inwards, which can predispose you to knee pain, so it's important that you try your best to not enable that or allow that to happen. So it may be that you shorten the range slightly when you're doing the exercise. Good job. Okay, fantastic. All right, so guys, so that's sort of routine 1 completed. So what we're going to go on to now, take on some water if need be. We're going to simply go on to the next 3 exercises that we're going to work on doing, okay? So the next 3 exercises that we're going to be working on, so Kaitlyn, if you step over there, okay, is going to be just working on, first of all, just in this position here, okay, so again, just upper body now, so we're going to start off on the knees and just working through coming up and coming back down, okay, so working through, okay, and we're just simply going to do 4 reps each side, okay, key thing is keeping the core muscles engaged, not allowing the back to sag through at all when we're doing it, okay? Next exercise that we're going to work on is variations of, that's okay, is variations of a reverse skater squat, okay? So coming through here, coming back up, and coming across to the other side, okay? And we're going to do alternate 8 reps each side, so 16 in total. And the last one is then going to be just working on, in this position, with our small weights, okay? Is going to be just working on coming through and up and back down. Yeah, and then we'll do 8 on each side when we're doing it, okay? So Kaitlyn's going to get us going first of all. So we're going to start off with just on the knees, feet crossed there, great stuff, Kaitlyn. And then we're just going to be working on now, just alternating, raising the arms up, holding it for a couple of seconds, okay? Trying to keep, when we're doing it, the side that we're stabilising with, so the side that's on the floor, the scapula against the chest wall and not dropping down, okay? So if we're weak through some of the muscles at the back, what we'll find is that the scapula just sits a bit higher off of the chest wall there because those muscles aren't giving it the support through that area. So just 4 inside there, okay? So remember, just 8 in total with this exercise. Good job. Yeah? Brilliant stuff. Holding it for 3 seconds. Great job, okay? So now we're going to go from that one into our skater squat. So just our reverse sort of skater lunge rather. So coming back through, and then we're just going to come back. That's it, good. Holding it there, alternating between sides. So key thing is now that you want to get that back leg across the front knee and stabilising without putting that knee down, okay, so you're getting a crossover effect for the legs themselves, okay, and you're holding that position as well, okay, so again, coming from doing the single leg squat into this, you're going to start to feel it much more through the quads as we're doing it. And Kaitlyn, you can see there, is using her arms to counterbalance herself as well, and we're going to start to bring in some weights as we do this for the next rounds as well, okay? Keep the back straight, okay? Don't sort of flex or lose through the lumbar spine, okay? And the last one is then going from there into our stability lift. So we're going to be in a split kneeling position. We're going to use our weights, okay? We're now holding the weights on the, that's great, so just there. So having the weights down by your side in this position here, and then we're going to be going and pushing up to the opposite side. And we're just simply doing 8 repetitions on each side. So now the key thing is when we're doing this, that we keep the hips facing forwards, okay? We're not allowing the hips to move with the trunk. Hips stay facing forwards, the back foot, the toes are on the ground, so it just engages that back glute that bit more. And then you're just following it, and then you're raising up through the arms, working through the shoulders. Again, 8 reps each side as we're doing it, and then we're going to change sides, okay? So this is again just giving us more of an idea on rotational stability and control. As we talked about last week, just think particularly for things like our racket sports, paddle boarding, that type of thing as well, where you need good rotational trunk control to transfer power from the legs to the upper body or vice versa as well. Okay, and we're just going to keep it there. Great stuff, okay, so notice that Kaitlyn's not, the hips aren't wobbling at all, the knees are staying quite well aligned, she's got quite a low or narrow base of support, which is good. And she's working through. Okay, so round 2. So we're going to go back into that pillar bridge position. So just on hands and feet there this time. Okay, we're going to do our 8 repetitions. Okay, so we're again holding it for 3 seconds and then back down. Okay, so just working through. You feel alright there, Kaitlyn?
Yeah.
Yep, good. So, and again, this time now we're not allowing, we don't want to shift too much through the trunk as we're doing the movement pattern as well there, okay? So she's staying relatively well aligned, she's not collapsing through the low back, but actually she isn't shifting too much to either side there as well, and she's got that good 3-second hold just at the top of range as she's doing the movement pattern as well. Great stuff, Kaitlyn. Good, well done, brilliant, okay? So now back into our reverse skater lunge, but now we're going to start to add some external loads. So we're now using the weights as we're doing it, okay? So we're going to go with 16 reps in total coming through, okay? Yep, so again, the key thing with Kaitlyn there as well is that she's doing that crossover effect through the legs, okay? She's keeping the control, keeping the stability through the pelvis. She's starting to just use the upper body a bit more as she's pressing the weight forward, so getting the shoulders engaged that little bit harder. Yeah, and again, she's not really collapsing through the low back as well as she's doing the movement pattern as well there. How many is that, Kaitlyn?
12.
12. So again, guys, as we said, we've done sort of this into our single leg squat into our reverse skater lunge as well. They're very quad dominant exercises. So we should really start to feel the quads working harder as we go through. So now what we're going to do is we're now going to take that into a slightly harder exercise for the stability lift. We're going to just lift up slightly, good, and then
go on an angle.
Yeah, go on an angle, and we'll take the weights off as well. So we'll make it a little bit easier for the upper body, but we're going to just work the lower body a bit harder when we're doing it. So we're coming up, lifting that trail knee off of the ground, and now working through. Okay, so we're getting the isometric contraction through the quads. If you fatigue, you can just drop that back knee down, okay? And it's asking a lot more from a stability standpoint through the hips as well. So through the legs, through the hips. Go, Kaitlyn, well done, brilliant stuff, okay? And we'll do the same on the other side. So Kaitlyn's set, she's now lifted that trail knee up, and then she's working through that contraction, okay? And this is really going to start to get those quads burning and working harder. She's obviously working hard through the glutes, but she's not twisting through the hips as well, which is, not twisting through the hips. That rotational movement is coming through the trunk, and she's had to call the time out on that one. Okay, so the last thing now is we're going to go through round 3, okay, and we're going to go back into that pillar plank position. Feel free, if you want to take on some water, by all means do so. The last round of this now is just going to be using the weights, okay? So Kaitlyn's going to go into the plank position. You can drop the knees down at any point soon if you want to. Okay, do you want to do it on there? I was just thinking it might be
We're good to go. I can
Yeah.
drop halfway.
Yeah. Yeah, so look, Kaitlyn's actually so we'll go now. So Kaitlyn's actually balancing on the weights. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can just simply go with just having the arms just either side, and then just alternating lifting one weight up at a time. So in that plank position, raising up, that's great. Okay, weight back down, changing sides as well. Okay, good. Yeah. And again, as we tire or we feel that our form is dropping, then we can just simply go back into just doing our reps on our knees, or simply not using the weights as well.
Have it 2 more. We're doing
Two
it.
more. Good job. Yeah, Kaitlyn's going to kill me for working her so hard during this session. Okay, great stuff, guys. Okay, so now into working through our reverse skater lunge. Okay, and now we're going to use those weights, and we can include it into a tempo as well. So we're going to go with weights forwards, 3-second hold on that back leg. Okay, so there we go, 3, 2, 1, back in. Okay, so you should start to be, if you're not sweating already, you should be sweating at this point, because this is really starting to, as I said, load the quads up, load the upper body up as well, okay, and progressively building into quite a hard routine. Okay, Kaitlyn's doing a fantastic job of keeping her form. Again, if you find that this is too much, then just go back into either taking the weights away, or don't hold that tempo position as you're doing it there as well. Okay, if you need to take on some water during the session, by all means do so as well.
Go halfway.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, good. Keep the pelvis facing forwards as we're doing it as well.
I can do all the in-betweens. Just can't do this bit.
Okay, and keep working through as we're doing it there. Okay, great stuff. How many reps is that, Kaitlyn?
I think it's 10.
Just 10, alright. I think you might have just done a few more there. So we're going with just one more rep either side as well as we're doing, okay?
I'm a terrible counter.
Great, and the last one. Okay, alright, fantastic. Okay, so we're now going to use the weights, and we're going to go with the stability lift with the whilst keeping that leg off of the ground as well. Okay, so let's see how we go. We'll let Kaitlyn drop the knee down when she tires. So we're going to start off in that position. So again, this is our full progression. We're going to lift up through that leg. So she's up there, the knees off the ground, which is great. And now she's doing the rowing. The lift motion as she's doing it. As you fatigue and the form reduces, then start to drop that leg down. So for Kaitlyn, she can drop her knee down into that position and just get those last few reps out whilst being in that position there as well. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. So lifting up, and we're going to come through. Good job. Good job, fantastic. How are you feeling?
Good. Tired. That's good.
Okay, all right, guys. So what we may do actually is we're going to go on to regeneration now, because I think that's a good circuit, good routine in itself. So, and we'll come back to that next routine next time. Okay. So we're going to start off. So this is your point where you've really warmed the system up. The legs are feeling pretty tired now. You've warmed the upper body up now as well. And from here, we're now going to go into just more of a way of increasing our mobility, our flexibility. So we're going to start off, Kaitlyn's going to go onto her back first of all. Yeah. So she's going to go onto her back in that position. She's now going to have her knees bent up, feet off the ground at 90 degrees. She's going to roll over towards her left, or she can go to her right side. She's going to drop the knees down all the way there, so knees are on the ground. That's it. Arms, right arm out to the side there as well, so just out to the side in line with the shoulder, and we're going to bring the left arm across the body now. So now she's going to go into some lumbar rotations. She's going to slow it down, and she's going to breathe out as she does the movement pattern there as well. Good, and then coming through. Okay, and we're just simply going to work through just a few repetitions on that side. Good. And then holding it, focus on your breathing as well, okay? This is a chance to actually slow the breathing down, whilst also improving sort of muscle length and flexibility as well, okay? From that last one, we're now going to just bring our arms back to the starting position. We're going to flip the legs over now, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side as well, okay? So we've done a lot of rotation, particularly through the stability lift that we were doing, and now we're going to just work on just as I said, just stretching ourselves out and focusing on the gains that we've made with the session there as well. Okay, again, slowing the breathing down as we're doing it as well. Good, and this is going to be the last one. Great stuff, okay. So from now what we're going to do is we're going to take ourselves into a pretzel stretch. So what you can see with Kaitlyn, so she's brought that top leg up, she's bringing the knee in line with the hip, she's now grabbing through the back of the bottom leg, and she should feel now a stretch through the quadricep muscles at the front, but also the hip, that top hip there as well. And then from there what you can start to do is then rotate back through and just take that stretch a little bit further, again focusing on your breathing as you're doing it as well. So exhaling, focusing, taking yourself into more of a rotational position there as well, okay? And we're just going to do about 5 repetitions of that. Again, just slowing the system down, getting the breathing under control. Now from there, we're then going to change sides and we're going to do the same now on the other side, okay? So flipping ourselves over, good, bringing that back leg back, that's great, okay? And again, just focusing on the breathing and just rotating through the trunk as well as we're doing that as well, okay?
That's a good workout for the hips.
Great stuff, okay? So a couple more repetitions of that, so you should be really starting to get the heart rate just under control now. And so once we've done that there, we're then going to go into a hamstring stretch. So Kaitlyn's going to go back onto her back now. Okay, she's now just with her left leg, she's going to straighten that leg down. That's it there. Right leg up. Okay, hold behind the back of the knee. And we're going to do 6 reps just pushing out, okay, whilst pushing down on that left heel. So it's important with that left heel that you keep that heel engaged. Okay, so we're just aligning the pelvis and the leg correctly, and I shouldn't be able to lift Kaitlyn's leg off of the floor as she's doing that movement pattern there. So you're driving through the heel, getting the back of the left hip engaged a little bit more while stretching through the hamstrings on the right side. And then when we've done our 6 repetitions, we're just going to slowly change sides, okay? Again, at home, if you want to hold this a bit longer, by all means do so, yeah? So you may want to just hold it for a good sort of 3 to 5 seconds, really trying to improve the muscle length as we do the movement there as well. Fine. Great stuff, okay? Last one. Fantastic, well done, Kaitlyn. Good job. All right, guys, fantastic, well done. Okay, that was a good circuit. So, as I said, we focused initially on sort of mobility, activating the correct muscles. We then went into the main routine, okay, which is, again, was a full body workout targeting lots of different body parts, different muscle groups. And then we went through more regeneration in terms of just slowing the system down, focusing on breathing with some stretches as well. So, yeah, you can find out more from what we're doing at Square One Connect, which is our online platform. So feel free to go through our website at www.squareonephysio.com.au to find out more information about what we're doing. And we'll be back on at 12 o'clock next Monday. We'll see you soon.